Hello and welcome to this big club video. This video is necessarily going to be a quick build because I don't have very much time for the project that I'm starting, which is the Encounter Terrain Challenge for the month of August. Now the reason I don't have much time is it's a 2-week build time, and for 6 or 7 of those days I'm actually going to be on holiday. I'm not going to be able to do any crafting, and it is already day 2 and I've obviously just standing here recording. However, I did start yesterday. I just didn't actually make a video because I had the idea, and so I started getting things together. So the theme is it's time to make a decision, and I ran with that and continue between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. And so that's the build I'm going to do, is a diorama around it's time to make a decision between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. And so I've printed something out, which because I've got so little time, that was the best way to do it. Come up with a really nice, simple, but I think it's going to look awesome idea. And now we're going to see whether I can actually get that done in time and finish before the end of the deadline. So let's point the camera down, have a look and see what I've got, show you the 3D printed items that I've got ready, and then let's get started building. So here we have the basics. The mystery item was a coin, so you can see my coin here from my starting picture. What I've got is the Devil, which I've picked up. I will pop a link to this file in the description below. It was free on my manufacturer. I've had to scale it down quite a lot, and I'm quite pleased that it printed. And you can even see through the wings, so that's really, really cool. So that's the Devil. And here is my base, which I have clamped down in my way of making sure that bases don't warp. And what I'll be doing is starting from one edge and then mark out a 10 by 10 on there, and then when it's finished I'm going to cut it out from the back and from the base, and then it'll be fine to use. So that's that plan. I have some bark, which is going to be for a cliff, which I will have rising up from the sea. So that will be like this. And then finally what I've got is a little figure that I printed out actually for the model railway. Let me zoom that in a little bit better. That was actually printed out as one of the ones for the model railway, but I'm going to repurpose it for this, and he's going to be stood right on the edge of the cliff with the Devil at one end and the Deep Blue Sea in front of him. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is start painting those figures, and also mark out the 10 by 10 and then glue this bit of bark in place to act as the cliffs. I will then backfill with probably expanded polystyrene or something like that, and cover over with a little bit of Luke's modelling compound and fill in like that. But I'll bring you along for all of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark out my 10 by 10 and then go and start priming up these figures. I won't bother put the painting on the video, but I will show you what it looks like and tell you what colours I used when they're finished. So let's get this started. I've got 2 days or 1.5 days now until I leave, so as much as I can get done between now and then will be brilliant. So I've come up with an idea which I think is going to work quite nicely for this. What I've done is I've got some expanded polystyrene, as I said, and I've carved that away to a kind of wedgy shape, which can then accept this kind of curved bark. And what I'm going to do, the first stage I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the bark to that EPS using my gator glue, and then when that's dried, which won't take very long, I will then glue this to the base, and that then will allow me to come in later on with some of the modelling compound and smooth it off and make it a little bit more organic. But that will be that will make it a bit more secure compared to trying to like wedge that in or something. I had some other ideas, some crazy ideas, but I think this is going to work best. So I'm going to get that glued now and clamped, and then I'll come back to this probably this evening. I'm rushing during work now just to get a little bit done. So I'll come back to that this evening and probably glue this to the base and then throw some paint on it. So yeah, rushing, speed build. So that bark is now glued on. So what I'm now going to do is put the same glue on the bottom here and glue it on place onto the base, and use some of these G-clamps to hold it in place. I've got some long G-clamps which are just going to be perfect just to hold it. As you can see, even just that few twists, that's fine. So I'll put the glue on the bottom and stick it in place. Of course, I'm not then going to paint it, because what I want to do this evening, which is why I'm doing this now, is get the modelling compound on around to fill these gaps and sculpt the top. Leave that and then I can paint. So yeah, flying forwards on this, real rush job, but yeah, making good progress. First of all, sorry for the noise in the background. I started the printer going before I remembered I wanted to do this, so it's running. So what I'm doing now is the Luke's APS modelling compound. So you can see that's glued on nicely. What I'm going to do is going to fill in this gap here. I'm going to go down the sides there and down the sides here and a little bit over there, just to kind of like continue this texture, and also to put a bit of an area at the top where the devil can be here and the guy can be standing right on the edge there. So that's what I'm going to do. I won't run the camera because I've done this before. If you're not sure how to use Luke's modelling compound, then check on the videos of mine. I mix it to feel rather than to any kind of like specifics anyway, so so yeah, so you can see that in other videos, and then I'm going to let it go off, and then tomorrow finally I can get to the painting. This is dried overnight, so what I'm now going to do is come along with some normal black house paint and undercoat the whole of it, including the top, so that it's all got a colour that isn't white. And what I'll probably do as well is paint the sides, because I want it to be a little bit neater to look at than with just white sides. So I'll get that done, let that dry, and then we'll come in with the dry brushing and we will work on the top of the cliff, which will obviously have grass and other things on there. Now I also do paint the water here. That will come along and be lightened up with blues and greens and what have you. So yeah, the whole of this is going to be primed. So I'll stop filming now because I need to kind of fettle around and get different angles. But yeah, you can see it's not going to take me very long, and then I'll leave that to dry and come back a bit later on for that dry brush. And now comes the magic of dry brushing. So that black paint is dried. I may end up coming along and touching up the sides with a bit more black, but for now I'm just going to be working on what's in front of me and what's actually going to impact the build. So I'll get a bit of very dry grey paint and come along and dry brush it down. And then when that's done, I can come along with some slightly lighter grey and really pick out the details. So this is a heavy dry brush because I want it to be quite a light grey. I will also come along with some different colours because rock is not black and grey. So if you're doing this, you really do need to be aware of that and not get so focused on just doing a grey dry brush. I'm also going to dry brush the top because there will be some rocky parts of that. So I'll just dry brush the whole lot. There we are. That's looking really good. So now we'll come along with the lighter grey and do the same thing, but a much lighter one. So not as heavy at all. Just to pick out the tops, like that. And then when that's done, I will then come along with different colours and make it a bit more interesting. But how quick is that? I just love it. Working with dry brushing is just fantastic on terrain. So I'm going to pick some other colours and then we'll make that a bit more interesting. And then I'll do the dress at the top, which will also be done with some dry brushing and some painting. I just had a lot of fun trying to open those bottles. A couple of them are dried quite tight, which is a bit annoying, but I've cleaned them now, so hopefully that won't happen again. So what we've got is we've got a nice dark red, we've got a purple, we've got a green, and we've got this kind of sandy yellow. And what I'm going to be doing is coming along and dry brushing that on. So I don't want that much on the brush, and that's how it gets stuck. So yeah, come along and just adding it in as highlights. So not trying to go over the entirety of the piece, but just adding a little bit of interest to that colour. So there's the yellow. It's a very quick process. Let's get some of the red on. And if you have a look at rocks in the wild, you'll see that this is what they're like. They are certainly not just one colour ever.
we are. And then the green is going to be used a little bit heavier to heavily dry brush on the top. Because this is quite a small scale, I don't really want to use in flock, so this is going to be giving the impression of the grass on top of the cliffs. So there we are. Right, that is looking really, really nice. I'm very, very pleased with that. So the next thing to do is going to be the Rip the Sea, which I'll get done now. So I'll bring you along for that when I've got the right paints. So I'm making quite good progress down at the painting desk as well on this. The little girl, I didn't realise it was a girl, but it is. A little girl is painted up and finished, so she's ready to go on. And the devil, what I'm doing is a slightly different technique. I'm trying something new here. Hopefully that's going to focus. But basically I've gone for a heavy null nor wash as an under base, whatever. Doesn't look like it's focusing at all. Let me just get that refocused, 1 second. There we are, that's better. Sorry about that, I was hard struggling to focus on him. So yeah, so what I've done is basically just a heavy null nor wash for now. And what I'm about to do is start to build up reds and oranges and what have you, so that he's going to be obviously the red devil. That's devil's red traditionally, but I really wanted to try this under. This is kind of a black, heavy black wash underneath before starting anything else. So I'm going to do that now. Make a start on the colours, and I'll bring you back and tell you how I did it when it's finished. Well, that experiment worked because that's literally one wash of red. I'm pretty sure that I used gory red from Vallejo, but it was just one that was on my palette I like the look of. And yeah, just one wash, and with that really nice under shadow, that's really worked well. And then what I've done is I've come along with aged white and just put a light wash of that along the ribs of his wings, and also on his toes and on the on his horns. And finally the little bit of metallic natural steel on his trident, or not trident, it's only got his pokey stick, whatever you call it. So yeah, wow, I'm going to let that dry now and come back to that later, but frankly I'm really pleased. I mean, that was so simple, but I think that looks great and it's going to be good enough. So yeah, what I was expecting to take quite a long time to paint, I've just done in literally 5 minutes. So yeah, underpainting does work very nicely. Right then, let's populate this diorama with the two figures. So first of all, we've got the this awesome, I'm really pleased with how this looks, the devil. So first of all, the devil's going to go there, and he's just going to be perching at the back, kind of like that. So I'm going to need to glue him right on the back there, which means he will overlap a little bit, but it will be within the allowed limitations of the rules. So a little bit of super glue. So I'll get him stuck in like that. So I'll just hold that, I'll bring you back when I do the next one. So that only took a couple of seconds to glue. So now I've got the little girl, or the lady, not a little girl, she's older than that. But anyway, so I've clipped off the base, and she is going to be stood right here on the edge. So there we are, we have our little diorama. And I've finished in 2 days. And I'm really pleased with it. I think it looks great. So I'll let that dry, and then I'll get some glamour shots. I'm not sure whether I might do some more on the sea, but it is right now the night before we go on holiday, so I will be having time. There'll be a few days when I get back, which I can have a look and reevaluate whether I want to do anything more or not. But for now, I'm pretty happy with how that looks, to be honest. That's pretty awesome. Very, very cool. Right, so been on holiday, got back, and now I'm going to cut this out of the base and going to call it done. I've decided against doing anything else, apart from I may need to just touch up some black paint where I cut. But this is the good thing about this technique, is it's actually relatively easy to do, and easy is good obviously, just be very careful when you're cutting towards yourself. There we are. So it's easy, really easy to do, and it gives a really good result. There's no warping at all on this, which is obviously what we want. But what you can see is I'm going to want to touch up along the edge there where I've got black, and maybe put some blue on the side there. But yeah, we're literally just going to cut. There we are. And that will give us our 10 by 10. So I'll finish doing that, touch up the sides, and then I'll do my glamour shots. Now that was a really fun build. It was really simple, went really fast, and I love what it looks like. It was just an instant idea, and sometimes those instant ideas are the best ones. Sometimes they're not, but in this case, it was. I'm really, really pleased with it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love to read all your comments. I do reply to all of them, and yeah, they really do inspire me and encourage me to keep going. So don't be shy. Do say hi and tell me what you think, and I will reply to you. So thank you ever so much if you got this far. I really do appreciate that. And as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.